What's up?
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, we're here with another James Massey Live where we interview agents that's killing it in their industry in order to provide tremendous value to the real estate agent that's looking to grow and build. And today I am here with Dellwyn Smith. What's going on, Dellwyn?
Nothing at all. Glad to be here. So glad to be
Awesome.
here.
Awesome. I mean, just kind of giving a whole backstory. We probably met what about a year ago. We started talking on the phone.
About a year ago.
About a year ago, okay. And Delwood, had our own brokerage, and we're going to kind of dive into that kind of stuff there, and some of the new transitions that she's just made. But before we get into that, Delwyn, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and origin, and just kind of how you got into this real estate space?
Okay, so I am from Mississippi. Central Mississippi is where I practice mainly. I'm an attorney as well, sell in real estate here. I've been an attorney about 13 years, been in real estate about 3 years, well, 3 years now. And I've always was interested like in commercial real estate, ended up being mainly in residential real estate. So that's how I ended up here in the real estate industry.
Awesome. Now, what made you want to do real estate? I mean, because you was already, a practicing attorney. What made you want to make that transition into real estate as an agent?
Yeah, so after 10 years of practicing, I kind of reevaluated if I wanted to, I guess, change careers because real estate has always been something I was interested in before law school. So I just decided to, not have any regrets and just pursue that career as well. And I
Okay.
always, like I say, I've always been interested in the commercial real estate area.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I guess it's always been something like you said that's been on your mind, and you've been kind of thinking about it, but you had your career path that was already set up for you, and I guess that wasn't you decided to kind of like, look, I'm going for what I want to do.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Now, did you have any people that was telling you like, why would you do that? You're already an attorney, and I mean, how was that?
Oh yes, a lot of people, said that, but I let them know that this is, my life. This is something I want to do, and I never want to, have any regrets. So I wanted to, pursue that goal and become a real estate agent.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
you got your real estate license, and like, so you're doing both. You're doing, the law and also real estate as well. How long did because you actually opened your own brokerage. How long did it take you to go from, having your license and doing it, and working up under a broker, and then to, I want to do my own brokerage.
It took about 2 years, 2 years
Okay.
before I opened my own brokerage. It was, yeah, I was practicing, not practicing. I was working real estate 2 years, and then I decided that I wanted to open my own brokerage.
What were some of the things that kind of like, because a lot of people they say they want to do that, and then be honest, most of them never do it. But what was one of the things that kind of got you to say like, hey, I want to actually go that route as opposed to just the route that everybody else goes.
Well, I guess it was because I had my own law firm too at the time. So I wanted to be able to have both, because I was already successfully growing a law firm. And so having a brokerage was just another goal that I wanted to pursue. And at the time, it was a great idea.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool. So have you always been like entrepreneurial, where you just like just start up and kind of get things going and just moving?
I was not. I think in the past, maybe 2 or 3 years, I had that feeling that I wanted to have a law firm and then a brokerage. So it wasn't like I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. It was just learning more about it and talking to other owners and seeing how flexible it was and how much they enjoyed it. That's when I decided that's the life I wanted to go.
So were you like when you first got your law license? Did you immediately go to try to do it on your own, or did you work for somebody else first as well?
I worked for someone else as well for almost 10 years. I
I
work.
used to 10 years.
Yeah, I work for like law firms or the state. So I've never just had my own law firm. I didn't have it like that. I mean, I decided maybe about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, that I wanted to have my own law firm.
And what prompted that? Because I mean, the entrepreneur, the bug had to come from somewhere. Now, like it's something that was like, man, I wanna step out.
I think I love the flexibility. I love being able to practice the law that I like. Just being able to help more clients. I had a lot of people that were thinking about entrepreneurship. So just, being able to help them, talking to my mentors who had their own law firm, that's when I really decided this is what I want. This is the route I want to go. So I guess just having that mentorship and people that I've always talked to and confided in, that's what made me decide that entrepreneurship is where I want to be. Where I want to be.
Well, I mean, just like kind of pick, like going off of that, what you just said, like those mentors that were those people that you sought after, or were those people that was already in your life ahead of time?
They were already in my life before, like while I was in law school. They have been there since law school. So just being able to have someone that has, done before, and I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just being able to talk to them, get their advice, and decide whether or not that's the path I want to go.
Okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I mean, because I mean, it's so many people that like me, they are in a situation and they want to kind of step out and do something different, but they
Hmm.
can never muster up the courage to actually make it happen.
Right.
But in your case, you was able to do that. But I mean, at the same time, you had people in your life that you was able to ask questions and get information. I always tell an agent when I'm whatever type of business that they envision for themselves is to go find somebody else that has already built it, and then just kind of utilize some of their experience and in your business, and then you can actually get there faster.
That is true. That's true.
Yeah.
It's always good to have somebody to talk to, because you don't, you want to make sure that this is something you really want to do versus something you see others doing. Because it's not easy, but it's always great to have that mentor or that person you can talk to.
Yeah. And it's good that they were already in your life. I mean, I know some people they strategically, put, certain people in their life because they know that at some point, they can actually be a benefit to each other.
Mhm.
I mean, were you thinking of that level at that particular time?
Somewhat, I guess, because I already been knowing the people that I've talked to for years, and they have been on their own for ooh, almost 10 years, or 5 years. So just being able to have those mentors to talk to was, I mean, that was helpful for me to make my decision. I didn't know too many people that had just opened up their law firms that I could talk to. So just having somebody that's been there for the long haul and continue to want to have their own law firm, that was very important to me.
All right, all right, so had the law firm, you stepped out on what you've always wanted to do, which is to become a real estate agent. I mean, do
Mhm.
you think the fact that you had the law degree first and understood that side that helped you in the transition into a real estate agent?
I believe so, especially with the contracts, being able to advise the contracts to the clients. I think that was very helpful because that's one of the areas I practice in for a long time, is reviewing contracts. Just being able to negotiate with other agents and just being that advisor, like I said, to my clients, I think it was very helpful.
It seemed like you said a couple of times like your clients. I mean, I guess they kind of go together with the law and the real estate
Right.
because it's all about helping people, right?
Yes, it's all about helping people. Hmm.
So all right, so you all right, so you're going, you got your real estate license, and then you decide to open up your own firm. Like for the experience for the as an attorney and open up your own real estate firm, did that help as well? Because like now you're getting into managing other agents, you're getting into dealing with the state and dealing with other legal situations, having your own brokerage. Like, is that something that you think was a benefit that you also had was an attorney first?
I believe so. I believe so. Being able to manage, like I didn't, my brokerage was a small boutique brokerage. I never, I didn't want to have like a large one in the beginning. So just being able to manage their brokerage and just having knowing the business side of it was, I believe, was beneficial for me. It helped me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So all right, so we're traveling down this road. Got your own brokerage. You're moving along, and then you get a what was it, a phone call, right, or a message for LinkedIn or something, was
Yeah, message on LinkedIn.
it? A message on LinkedIn, and you responded to the message, right?
I did.
So all right, so let's kind of dive into that, like, because I personally believe that everybody's searching for something, right?
Hmm.
You're searching for a better way of doing whatever it is that you feel like you've been called to do.
Right.
What did you think when you first got that message coming in from LinkedIn?
I think I was kind of surprised, but I was curious as to what you wanted to meet about, what your team wanted to meet about. So I'm always open to a discussion. So I didn't I wanted to definitely meet you all and see what you had to offer. So, but I was kind of surprised about the message because I just opened my brokerage, so it was it was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, like people that are like just open minded. You just will be surprised at what happened. What happens in that situation. I can't tell you how many times, because I was open minded about a situation, that
Mhm.
it led me down a road that was really really good for my business, my family, other people as well. So just the simple fact that you said you were open minded to kind of see what an opportunity looked like. We got to actually meet and talk on the phone. And initially, when we spoke, I was telling you some things that I experienced, that you were about to go through at that particular time. But it was one of those situations where, like you said, you just opened up your brokerage, you was just getting things going, and you had to just kind of see that stuff through and see it out.
Mhm.
But what are some of the I guess the challenges for an independent broker, that you experienced, and that you can actually share with everybody?
think, the main challenge is definitely like the financial responsibilities. I mean, just for running a business in general, be having to have like a brick and mortar, having to pay rent, um, the systems that you want to have in your brokerage can be expensive. Just the overhead can be expensive, and the responsibilities of a broker is something to also think about as well.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
those are some of the things that that I think a lot of brokerages, small independents, even large independents, that they kind of face and kind of deal with.
Right.
We've had independent brokerages that were 950 people that wanted a better way, wanted a better path for success, not only for themselves but for the agents that they had within their brokerage. And I remember me and you were talking, and you were saying like some of the systems in place is something that you can benefit from, but more importantly, the people that you have attracted to your brokerage that's looking at you as a leader, they need those services to be able to make themselves successful as well, right?
Right, right. Just having a support from a larger brokerage like EXP was very important to me, and the training that you all have is daily training. Was very important for the agents and for myself. So I thought that was attractive to me as
Yeah.
well. Hmm.
Yeah. So you're going down the road, and like I said, you start to seeing all this stuff happen, and I actually, I gave you an invitation to go out to Las Vegas. I
Yeah.
twisted your arm, right? I twisted your arm to get you to go to Las Vegas, so it wasn't a whole lot of twisting there, right?
It wasn't. It wasn't.
So tell me about that experience in of itself.
So that experience really helped with my decision because I was able to meet people that you interview like this in real time, real life. Just meeting people that actually wrote reviews, talking to the other agents, just building their relationship there was very important. I noticed there were, big on referrals. Everybody was just hands on, nice and supportive, and so I really loved that. And that would really make me make my mind up on how I want to pursue. Yeah, what I
Yeah,
want to. Yeah,
yeah, and that's not a bad place to have an event or a convention, right?
it's not. It's not. It was great. The weather was nice. It was great.
And the funny part about it, like, we talk so much, right? Back and forth about like what things will look like, and how we can actually work together and partner together, and how we was going to be successful together. But that was actually our first time meeting in person.
It was, yes. It sure was.
So hopefully I wasn't as bad looking as I am on video.
He looked the same to me.
Okay, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing,
It's
but
a good thing. He looked the same.
well, all right. So obviously, what I'm saying, you make the move, and you're making the move because you're looking at something that's bigger, better. Like, what's some of your goals now that you didn't have before, EXP and being linked to it? Because I mean, one of the things I always tell with everybody is like, when I was initially in real estate, I was only looking at Metro Atlanta. And be honest with you, it wasn't even just all of Metro Atlanta. It was I'm in Gwinnett County. It's like I'm looking at certain areas in Gwinnett County for me to sell real estate in, and a little bit of a DeKalb. But with EXP, what I did is I took my current brand and I added global to it. So what are some of the things that you actually saw that you knew that was going to be beneficial for where you wanted to go and where you wanted to take your real estate business, but then also be able to lead other people as well?
Right. So one thing I know is that with EXP, you can expand outside of your current area, and there's the ability to grow, and also the ability to attract, agents nationwide. So that was a great, like I thought that was great, a great business model to me. You don't have to just stay within your area. You can actually go outside. You can be in 5 different states if you want to, and it's still the same. Commissions, everything is the same. So just being able to have that level of being able to expand, I thought that was very attractive to
Yeah.
me.
And we talked about that a little bit, even like for you personally, like selling wise. I mean, looking outside of, you didn't mention your state, but you're in Mississippi. But
Mhm.
like, being able to expand even past that,
Right.
being able to, do some stuff in Georgia and not have to go and find somebody in Georgia or anything like that, or worry about a different split, or all that other stuff that a lot of people have to deal with. Um, so like, doing that, you're able to expand not only just your current brand as far as you personally selling, but you're also able to, like with any brokerage, the goal for a brokerage is to expand their brokerage by bringing on agents so they can actually help them to be successful. But now instead of just having to do that in Mississippi, or more specifically your town in Mississippi, you're able to extend that experience, the law, everything that you've done in the past to everybody worldwide. Where EXP has a presence.
Exactly, exactly. And then being able, if you want to expand in a different state, you have the support, especially like in Georgia, the team is there, and it's really everywhere. To be honest, it's just you have that support in different states, whatever state you decide you want to expand into.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
so one of the things that I try to do, and pride myself on is like, whatever location or wherever somebody actually partners with me is to kind of build that up. You kind of build your own community, and once you get an identity for that community, you'll start attracting more people to it. And the main thing is for them to be successful. To deal with the with if anybody wants to grow their business, they got to help people first. So if you can position yourself as helping the agent to, one, double their business, sell more houses, deal with that immediate need, but at the same time be able to deal with the back end, which is like, how am I going to retire one day? How am I going to set myself up and my kids, the right way, so we don't have to worry about money in the future? I mean, I noticed that, in your bio, you mentioned, in law, you was helping, families with that type of stuff. So how is that really kind of connected with what you're doing now in real estate? The same thing, you was actually connected with families to do that in law.
So being able to, help families have the American dream of having their own home. I've helped a lot of families with finding their first home. And so just being able to be that part of their life and just helping them on their journey has been a great experience for me. And so just having, helping families in the law and being able to help them in real estate, I thought that was it's just always been a great feeling. I enjoy both.
Love it. Love it. Well, Delvin, like, I mean, it's been great, partnering with you. Saying, like, we've been talking over a year now, so like, the closeness is actually there, and just kind of seeing the growth, and some of the things that you're, set to accomplish going into this new year. What advice do you have for like a broker owner, and as far as them wanting to expand and wanting to grow, like, and having to deal with challenges and things of that nature? What advice do you have them when it comes to looking into this model?
The advice I would give would say is that this model will help provide you with financial freedom, time freedom as well, and just if you have, it's best to always talk to a small independent broker, just to get their experience, and someone who has expanded into the EXP brokerage, partnered with the EXP brokerage is always good. Just having the support of a larger team has been beneficial for me. So, and like I say, it's very important that financial freedom and time freedom is something that I've always wanted. So just being able to partner and have that support of the company technology, it's easy for agents to build and succeed. And so I would just the advice I would also give them is just also look into the business model and learn about it like I did.
Love it. Love it. Well, once again, I mean, we appreciate you, for coming on and kind of sharing your experience. If anybody wants to know more about what Dellwyn is has experienced, or you want to know about partnering with Dellwyn or partnering with me, we're open book in of itself. We strictly just want to help agents hit their goal, financially, spiritually, family wise, because that's what it's really all about. Like you mentioned, like financial freedom and time freedom. That's time freedom to spend, doing the things that you want to do with loved ones. And I always said, like, on a deathbed of a real estate agent, I don't think anybody ever said, like, man, I wish I'd have went on and showed that extra house. You know,
Right.
man, I wish I would have went on that extra listing appointment. Most of it is like filled in regret. It's like, man, I wish I'd spent more time with my family. Man, I wish I'd have been able to, like, go to my kids' baseball game without actually, yeah, and actually be attentive to the game and not have my phone glued to my ear. So those are the things that we're working on. Those are the things that a lot of people in our group are experiencing right now. So, like I said, if you want to know more about that, reach out to Dell when she's an open book. She can, give her experience. If you're an agent or if you're an independent brokerage, she'll be able to help you with that. And then, you can also reach out to me. You can go to jameshmassey.com. Dellwyn, once again, appreciate it. looking forward to the big things that's happening in 2023. And, we will be talking, pretty frequent. So,
Thank
all right.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Once again, we do these every Thursday at 11 o'clock, interviewing an agent that's killing it in the industry to provide tremendous value for the real estate agent and real estate broker, independent or franchise owner that's looking to take their business to the next level.